So this suite of poems is called Unearthed and Submerged, and it's about magic mushrooms and being pretty gay in nature. So
Hell
here we
yeah.
go. It's my offering.
It's perfect.
Let's go.
Love to see it.
It's a great offering.
Unearthed, number 1. It is summer, but my legs are cold. The edge of my dress soaked from crossing the water hole. My legs feel naked in the early morning. The river clinging to my chilled flesh. The memory of the coming humidity, thick enough to strangle my love for everything. Number 2. This seems a female kind of task. I tell her as I part the tuft of grass and look through the mess that feeds it. All enlightenment is rooted deep in the mud. My knowledge about knowledge comes from my investigation of rock bottom. We look for any golden brown hoods that may have surfaced. Each growth, a cape that can cover our faces from reality. 3. You think everything is a female kind of task, she says, laughing, thinking my analogy means to fuck her right there in that field. No, not simply. The female task here is the cracking open of the hinge of the world, the reaching of our hands into dark places. Others would not think to look. Others are shamed to think of. Others have unlearned, been denied for ecstasy. The female task is about bringing back the story when the narrative is twisted so badly the original order is unrecognizable. Number 4. No one is watching, so I hold it up, look underneath for the skirt. She is wearing one, which means she is the right one. Her underbelly smells sweet like rotten honey. Blue veins run from her broken stem, but she does not bleed for me. She is not living nor dead. I tap the top of her head to loosen her progeny. 5. One side will make you taller, I say playfully, and the other will make you smaller. I pull a sliver from her top and eat it. This is the only language we both speak. This language of eating. This language of crawling. This language of no language. Soon she will whisper to me where her sisters are sleeping. 6. Each one we find is different. Size or color cannot determine the strength of the story to be found in her head. It is best to get to know each one slowly. Stretch out the introduction. If you move too fast, you may realize that they are terrible house guests who bring you plates of poison to share. Or they may be the laughter of children spiriting through the halls, as joyful and as unstoppable as light. Or they may be schoolmasters suspect that you are not living up to your full potential, bringing you chalk and strange alphabets to learn. Or they may be weak, like tea steeped too shortly. Or they may be confused like a circular argument. Or they may love you like you have always wanted something to. Or they may hate you like you suspect everything always does. Or they may do both in equal measures. Each one we find is different. Size or color cannot determine the strength of the story to be found in her head. Submerged. Part 1. Like green knuckles, grasping at nothing. Like the knotted vertebra of an insect knitting itself into existence quickly. Like a spiral staircase for microbes. Like knife lines in tissue paper. Like an imaginary bridge. Like heat rising from the pavement, curled and released by a sudden rain. Like time should be, a central stem with fractured parts arching gracefully in every possible direction, but not without exact calculated measure. I had never looked closely before at a new growth fern. 2. Raining at the beach. Even if I don't swim, I will get wet. I stand on the sand and watch the girls in the distance, in one long horizontal line, thrown high and low by the prolific sea. Each vertically thrown brown head of hair, each woman swimming over there, looked like hammers hitting the strings of a prepared piano. Slow-moving birds skewered above their heads. The objects threaded through the wire, shivering an unnameable, inaudible melody. 3. There is only one time you can stare directly into the sun. Sunrise, just as it hovers above the horizon. It appears molten and liquid, like the yolk of an egg cracked into a tall, clear glass. Played in reverse.
Okay, this is...
I like to think of the act of our looking being the free radical amoeba whirling into this world, too bright for any of us to see, except in its first few moments of unborn existence. 4. Even on New Year's Day, before dawn, there are the joggers, the power walkers. They will not be moved from their routine, hair tied back, bobbing with tiny counted up steps. No Auld Lang Syne hangovers for the joggers. Just clean living, good timing, goal, weights, and routine. One woman powers on, ignoring the strays and waifs and revelers carrying their shoes and wearing shiny dresses, smeared across the shadows of their bodies, having lost all their shimmer. But one man, dressed for the occasion in designer exercise attire, originally running before her, slows to an amble, but doesn't stop and begins to wander aimlessly. I watch him for a while, just to make sure he doesn't walk into the ocean, having lost all sense of direction. 5. She is so full of the ocean. They say the human body is 70% water, but this woman is more than that. It seems that only the lines of her flesh are solid, and only sometimes, when she is thinking her boundary into being, she is so full of still, smooth water. She tells me that these lakes are brown from the tea trees, leads a posse of women to them, sluices them in, and swims further than half the pack can manage. But not me. Today, I keep up. Today is not so rough, and the remaining brave ones climb up through the tangles of tree branches. The space is hard to navigate. The route as complicated as the birth of consciousness, and as mischievous as the death of all lies. One of the girls perches high above the water, now where the birds used to be sitting, her laughter speckled across the distance like their fleeing shadows. She is so full of the ocean. Her eyes flail around, frustrated by the limitlessness below her imaginary boundary, mobilized by the overwhelming capacity for drowning. The essence of the information underneath, almost too expansive, too perfect, too chaotic, like a fractal, or a heart arrhythmia, or the inside of a clock, or unsolvable, unbalanceable algebra. Like she knows she is becoming 75% water rapidly, and any more of an environmental impact will cut out the habitat for half the species she supports. Standing on the water's edge, I wonder what king tide looks like. I wonder if the tide will ever come in. If the tide will come in for me. If the tide ever comes in at all. If the tide could stay out all night, would it? I wonder if the tide will ever come in. If the tide will come in for me. But I know the tide never comes in completely. At all. 6. I have learned that you can outrun the wind before the wind outruns you. That when the sky and the sea grind their teeth, black enamel cracks and the light seeps through. That you have been taught to braid the narrative of your memories, the wisps neatly held back from your face. Here, we can let them loose. Let them surf the slopes of your shoulders. Let them tattoo their hybrid past-future sing-songs. Let them float like subtitles on a movie that hasn't been written yet. Let them reach like root structures on a tree that has drunk too much vodka and is weeping, bent over like a hunch that suspects, but knows nothing. I have learned that you can cut down that tree, and when you burn it, it smells of jasmine and will keep you warm. That you can freeze out the cold before the cold unfreezes you. That trying to achieve freedom means defining it, crystallizing it, imprisoning it, failing it. That everything is alive with meaning, and the most advanced language doesn't use words but sensory experiments. That you can make love with the ocean, with a footprint, the friction of those seconds slipping past you like two bodies in an elevator can raise an eyebrow, a heartbeat. That we are so close right now, but I can't quite speak it. Multilingual dead languages are reborn into the next karmic cycle, and the joke's on us. Human utterances, all of them, are at the bottom of the hierarchy. Conversations are all hoping that when they burp their last death gasp, that they will come back in the next life as a dance move, a lover's caress, an epileptic fit, the taste of laughter, a skinned knee, the sweetness of oranges at Christmas time, static electricity. So, kiss me. Somebody, anybody kiss me, and let something have the pleasure of evolving tonight, even if it isn't us. I have learned that sleep is not essential. I have learned that wonder can't be stuffed down a rabbit hole. I have learned that to some, constant crises are beautiful. I have learned that really it's all pretty inconsequential. Unless, of course, you let your fear control you. I have learned that you can break over a wave before the wave breaks over you. That when the sky makes love with the ocean, swimming is flying too. Thank you very much, everybody.
Holy shit.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,